Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do something a little bit different in this video. In a recent live stream, I talked about love bombing, and I gave a fictional story about how this could happen for someone who grew up in a mostly, in quotation marks, normal home. So I'm going to show you that clip, and I've added some pictures and images and things so that it would be kind of exciting. So I'm curious to know how you all feel about it, what you think about it, so please drop that in the comments. And with no further ado, here is that clip. So I'm going to talk a little bit about love bombing now. So love bombing is a tactic that's used by narcissists to manipulate and control others. What narcissists usually do is they try to create intimacy when intimacy is not appropriate. So again, I just want to clarify that I'm not a therapist. I just grew up around a lot of narcissists and I married one. So I've seen these behaviors, and I've seen love bombing when it happens within the family, when it happens among friends, and when it happens among romantic interests. So this is behavior that narcissists use with any relationship in their lives. So what I wanted to do was share a fictional but relatable story of someone named Emily. So Emily had a loving, normal upbringing, but her parents were often busy with work. This made her independent, but it also left her vulnerable to the intense attention of someone like Ryan, who seemed perfect until he wasn't. Okay, so here is the story. Emily grew up in a warm middle-class home. Her parents worked long hours, but always made an effort to show her they cared. They attended her school events when they could, and they told her they loved her often and supported her ambitions. However, because of their schedules, Emily learned to occupy herself and be independent from a young age. She didn't feel neglected, but she also didn't have someone around to share every little moment of her day with. As an adult, Emily was confident in her independence, but didn't realize that she might deeply crave the kind of constant attention she never really had. Then she met Ryan. He was everything she thought she wanted in a partner: handsome, charming, and attentive. Right from the start, Ryan made her feel like the most important person in the world. He texted her good morning and good night every day without fail. He'd surprise her at work with her favorite coffee and flood her phone with thoughtful memes or jokes to keep her smiling throughout the day. On their second date, he brought her a bouquet of her favorite flowers, something she'd casually mentioned in passing, and took her to a restaurant that matched her exact tastes. By the third week of dating, he was calling her his soulmate, saying, "I can't believe how lucky I am to have found you." Ryan even started talking about their future, together casually suggesting they plan trips months down the line or hinting at how she'd look great in a wedding dress. Okay, so now is when the shift is going to happen. Emily was completely swept off her feet, but things started to change after a few months. Ryan began making subtle comments that chipped away at her confidence. "Are you really going to wear that?" Or, "Why do you need to spend so much time with your friends? Don't you think they're jealous of us?" He also started testing her boundaries. For instance, when Emily had a work meeting that ran late, Ryan accused her of putting work before our relationship. If she wanted to visit her parents for the weekend, he'd guilt-trip her, saying, "I thought we were building a future together, but it feels like I'm not a priority." When Emily tried to address these behaviors, Ryan would either claim or charm his way out of it, "I only say these things because I love you so much," or get defensive, accusing her of being ungrateful for all he'd done for her. So in this example, Ryan's behavior is textbook love bombing. He begins by showering Emily with excessive attention and affection early on, creating this false sense of security and emotional dependency. For someone like Emily, who was used to being independent but missed out on the constant closeness of a full-time presence, Ryan's intensity felt like the connection she didn't even know she needed. However, once she was invested, Ryan flipped the script, using the emotional bond he'd built to manipulate her. This isn't love, it's control. So what do you all think of that? I have a little bit more to talk about, but I want to check on you in the chat. What I wanted to do next is give you all 4 different ways to spot love bombing. Pamela says, one person kept giving me over the top and unearned praise. It totally creeped me out. Yes. Yes, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I was definitely vulnerable to love bombing before, but I want to say in the last 2 or 3 years, I just can't. I can't handle it. It makes me feel like suffocated. Kit Kat says, this sounds oddly familiar. What do you mean, Kit Kat? Pamela says, Ryan would tell Emily she was too sensitive. Yep, that's textbook behavior. Margaret says, Kit Kat, I think it is their behavior their go-to behavior for control. Stephanie says, some people, normals I guess, sense it's too much too soon. You hear cases of people reporting they thought that, and don't get sucked in like other empath victims. Absolutely, Stephanie. And I have to tell you, I was vulnerable to it. I've only broken free from all of the narcissists that were around me for about 2 years now. And I still fear that if someone comes at me, love bombing me in the right way, I could still be susceptible to it. I think I've become hyper vigilant about it now. Pamela says the tougher ones to spot are when they are super sweet and kind of meek in their manipulations. Absolutely. I'm going to finish up this section and talk about some red flags that you can watch out for to spot love bombing. The first is over-the-top affection early on. Things like lavish gifts, extravagant compliments, or quick declarations of love. Things like, I've never felt this way before. And this is textbook, this is kind of how my ex-husband got me. It was very this is a one-of-a-kind kind of love. No one's ever experienced love like this before, right? The second, in romantic relationships, could be fast-tracked intimacy. They might push for commitment early, talking about a future together before you've had time to know them. I'm part of a couple of groups on Facebook where they talk about experiences they've had on dating apps. And people will say that, oh, they met so-and-so on a dating app. They haven't met in person, but this person is already asking for a commitment. That's just strange behavior. Let me see if I missed anything in the chat. Lisa says, I would run from love bombing. It's not normal and not natural and always seems fake to me. I can just tell people who aren't right. That's great, Lisa. That's great. I hope I feel like I've built up the radar too, but there's still this anxiety about it, right? I don't ever want to fall into that trap again. Alice says, I don't have any personal experience, but this is great advice to learn. I think I'm usually too sarcastic. Pamela said, the charming ones can kind of hypnotize you. When I realize I'm super eager to please, oh my gosh, yes. I think of it as tap dancing for them. That's my big red flag internally. Pamela says, Lisa, you have good instincts. Yep. Qual says, you got me thinking about my ex-second hubby about the love bombing. Yeah. Kit Kat says, this is the playbook my ex-husband used on me. It was hard to leave, but it had to happen. Lisa says, my daughter was with a narc. I didn't like him in sight, and neither did her father. Qual says, to me, sounds like narcs have such a strong hold on their victims. They really do. Sue says, Megan got Harry to commit before he got a chance to really know her. Yes, that's her tactic. Lisa says, I'll look after all you empaths. Yes, please. Yes, please, Lisa. I will take you up on that offer. Okay, I'm going to read you the last 2 signs to look out for. And I say read because I take notes and I want to make sure I'm prepared when I go into the chats or when I make videos. So the third thing that they do is they have isolation tactics, subtle or overt moves to distance you from your friends or family. We can see that, Megan did that so much with Harry, immediately. And an example you can think of, I don't know if you've all read Tom Bauer's Revenge, but he talks about how one of the very first meetings that they had, they went all on a hunting trip or something, and Megan was creating conflict with everybody, all of the guests there. She was against the hunting, and so she would give these she would just express her opinion and really look down on the people that were there. And of course, that's going to create conflict between Harry and his friends, and the end result of that is going to be isolation. And then finally, there's emotional manipulation. So alternating between giving excessive affection and then guilt tripping you to keep you off balance. So these are just some things to look out for. Mariana says, I've worked with narcs and it's a miserable work environment. Same. Pamela says, even very self-assured and strong people can fall victim to a narc if you've never encountered them before. They are a different breed. Absolutely, Pamela. And I feel that they go for people that are successful, and because it's a conquest, I think. And this is just in my experience. It's so they want to try to get, the best that they can. Yeah, Koala says, kudos to all narc victims here that escaped and continue with your lives. Well done to you all. Thank you so much, Koala. And I second this notion to everyone that's here. You guys are all the best. Margaret says, my ex was very charismatic and was an expert at love bombing. Absolutely. Stephanie says, yes, good red flag. You shouldn't feel like you have to tap dance for them. Healthy relationships give you a sense of unconditional love. If you do something they don't like, they withdraw so quickly. In my experience, they withdraw their love, their affection, all that goodness so quickly. Pamela says, I've come to be very suspicious of charismatic people. Margaret says, Pamela, very wise. Kit Kat says, good tips to pass on to your kids. Koala says, exactly, Lisa. Just shows that the victims are stronger than the narcs. Yep. Stephanie says, yes, narcs in the workplace make it very difficult. And that's where the clip ends. I'm curious to know how you all felt about it. Please drop it in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends. And if it was interesting to you, please attend one of my future live streams. We have a lot of fun. So once again, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you all soon. Goodbye.